Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Ladies Room Talk Show. I'm Clarissa Kenty, your Kingdom Concierge. Happy Monday, everybody. Happy July. I hope that your quarter is starting very, very well, because we just ended the first 6 months of the year. Oh, my goodness. I cannot believe we're already at the halfway mark. And last year seemed to go by so fast last year. And this is kind of really just making its way, but it's still kind of fast. I can't believe that we're here now. But I certainly hope that you are able to get off to a really good start for July, and that all of your goals you had set in January, I hope that you're steadily meeting them, and that those that are not really serving you well, get rid of those, get those off your goals and push them on to 2027, and then rechannel your focus to what matters. And those are the things that are doing well on your goals and your to-do list for 2026. I want to give a big shout out to my guest on last week, Allison Sanders, who is the executive director and the producer for the Ladies Room Talk Show. She came on to the Ladies Room last night. There is a play that's coming to Alabama. It's called Dead Wrong. Allison Sanders is the playwright and director, creator of that. It's going to be in Gadsden, Alabama. You don't want to miss this play. Go over to her Facebook page, hit like, follow what she's doing, and then follow everything that's going on with Dead Wrong. Dead Wrong is a stage play. It's funny, it's humorous, but it's also going to leave you a really good plot at the end, so you don't want to miss that. Dead Wrong. And I'm making a cameo in Dead Wrong, and so I'm excited about that. You guys, oh my God, yeah, you'll be able to see some stuff. It's funny, y'all. It's so funny. So make sure you go out there and get those tickets, and then buy one for a friend, because I think it's really going to be worth your time to go. And it's just in Gadsden. I mean, Gadsden is like 40 minutes from Birmingham. It's not bad at all. So go ahead and get those tickets. Bring a friend so that you can enjoy the stage play, Dead Wrong. All right, guys, we have a wonderful guest that's on the show here tonight. Before we introduce her, I want to remind you, make sure that you are posturing yourself to cast your vote in November. Listen, it's a very important election, and we need to always keep that before us, that we have to get out and vote. There are some critical things that are taking place, and we need to be aware. And in the old school, we used to say, stay woke, because we need to be woke. We need to be seeing what's going on and make sure that we're positioning people in our communities, in our districts, in our state, to make sure that the right people are in the right place so they can make the right decisions. So make sure, posture yourself, get yourself in the mindset, and go ahead and get ready to vote in November. It's your right. It's your responsibility. It is your duty. So coming to the Ladies Room Talk Show here tonight, we have Dr. Victoria. She is an amazing author of the book Unbroken. Listen, it's already available to be purchased. She is kicking off her book launch in August, and I'm so excited to have her inside the Ladies Room. Welcome, Doc. How are you doing today?
Hey, good evening. How are you today?
I'm good. It was a beautiful day outside. I mean, it was gorgeous. Kind of a haze, but it wasn't too bad. I went walking this morning, got 2 miles in. So yeah,
absolutely. It was beautiful. It was beautiful until the rain started out in Pelham.
Yeah.
But it was a beautiful.
Yes, I think it did rain just a little bit closer to my house, but it wasn't long. Kind of it's almost April showers in July.
Yeah, just to water the flowers and everything.
Absolutely.
So that's the great part.
We need a little bit of that, cool everything down. Hello, Shavonda. How are you doing? Welcome to the Ladies Room here tonight. Be sure to share this live to your network of friends. Shavonda is always a continuous follower, and she comes in every week and hangs out with us inside the Ladies Room Talk Show. Hey, Jane, how are you doing? I'm so proud of you, my cousin. That's your cousin on. Okay.
Yes, it is.
All right, you're my cuz too, so be sure to share this live.
Hey, we just might be.
You never know. You really never know. But definitely be sure to go out and share this live with your network of friends. It's going to be some great information that we're going to share here tonight. So, Doc, please, let's tell everyone a little bit about yourself. Give us your background, and then we'll jump on into your book and the meat and the bones to Unbroken.
Okay, thank you so much. And I just want to express gratitude to share this time with you tonight. And thank you so much for the invitation to come on tonight. I have been in education. I was in education over 20 years. I recently retired June 1st. My book came out on June 2nd.
Okay.
When I spoke with you urgency earlier about the urgency in life, I just wanted to make sure I kept moving forward and try to do exactly what God has for me. But I have been in education over 20 years. I've served in different capacities. I've actually done a lot of work with the Alabama Education Association as a state officer. And I've also done a lot of local work. I'm a big advocate in education.
Mhm.
And especially, I heard you talk about, going out to vote. It's about getting out the vote.
Mhm.
I stand firm on that. We only have a voice if we use it, and that's by going to that ballot and scratching in that ballot. So I just thank you again for everything.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit. You have such a wealth of background experience as relates to education, and you know the importance of reading, you know the importance of literature. And so I'm excited about the book that you wrote, Unbroken. I'm an
Yes,
author myself. I've written 2 books, and a lot of times those books come from a place. People who do
absolutely.
are songwriters and people who write poems and spoken word, it always comes from a place. I remember Mary J. Blige, they would always, people so low down, but they would always say, I need her to break up with somebody because she writes her best music.
Like Swift too.
Right. And I was like, people are so wrong. Now she does have one of her
Mhm.
best CDs is from, a breakup.
Yes.
But I know sometimes, we write from a place. Both of
Mhm.
my books are written from a place, Miraculously Equipped and Unshaken. So
Yes.
I'm really excited about hearing your book, Unbroken. Let's do a dive into that. Off air, we talked a little bit about. There's a chapter in your book of some things that you've written about. So first of all, what inspired this book?
I'm a person, a lot of us walk around talking about that we need to put our story in writing. I'm going
Right.
to write a book about my life. It's so many of us who have those hidden stories that we don't discuss.
Mhm.
I've gone through some things in life, and I feel like God put me or allowed me to go through those things in order that I can be a voice, a reason to help other people start some discussions as well.
Right.
I come up from a strange childhood, and I'll explain that to you as well. And that has a play a big part in my life and in this book, Unbroken, because I'm in places now that I'm not supposed to be, something man would say, but God has something else in store.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think about the kintsugi pottery. When we think about the broken pottery, and that's the thing that inspired me. It actually took me 4 years to write my book. I didn't know how to end it at
Right.
all. But I had to go through a divorce, then go through forgiveness, and go through surrender with Christ in order that I was able to bring it to the end. So I don't think it's going to take that long for the next piece of work I produce. It's because it was so personal. But when
Right.
I think about that piece of pottery and I think about our broken pieces that we have in our life, uh, we are broken. A lot of us are broken up in pieces. But sometimes God can put us together and we can be more valuable than we were before.
Right.
If we really think about it, when he sealed us with that 24 karat gold and we shine even brighter than we did before when we were broken over here, but we're going to take those pieces and we're going to heal. And so that's something I really thought about. Everything played into one another. And I will say that my marriage had a lot to do with it to get me to face some things as well. When
Yeah.
I think about Unbroken, I brought a lot of my childhood drama to my marriage.
Mm.
A lot that I carried. Reggie brought a lot to the marriage as well. We carried a lot in. And when you're broken like that, it is so hard to be whole for anyone. You can't even be whole for yourself. You can't be whole for your students or your kids, your personal kids, and so forth. So, that's something that really led me to that title. And even in thinking about everything I'd gone through, because he did, when he pieced that piece of pottery back together, he pieced my marriage back together.
Mm.
So it's so many things that I could say and thank God for bringing me through. And that's how we came up with the unbroken piece. Even though I was broken off, he pulled me together and I'm not broken. I'm better. I'm healed. So,
Yeah. Wow. And I think about a lot of things, and that's when you know that you've forgiven. That's when you know that you're not mad at God, despite all of the hell
mhm,
that you've been through.
mhm,
We all have stories that we can tell, and it's good. I think one of the things, like with me losing my mom last year, and then being able to deal with the fact that now I don't have parents anymore. They're both passed away. One of the things that really helped me, Doc, to get through that was I have to do it for somebody else, because there are people out there, if we live long enough, we're all going to lose our parents at some point if we live long enough. Also, there are people who have lost parents, either lost one or both, or lost a mom, or however, and they're struggling, really trying to get past adapting to that new way of living. And so I have noticed that in the times that I go and minister, and I've shared different things, and it's been able to help people. People have said, I've lost my mom 9 years ago, and I'm just now being able to get to a point to where I'm not crying almost every day. And so to be able to get through that last year, and to be on this side of it, and to be able to go back and help somebody else, and then make sure I'm postured in a place that when others lose their parents or their mom or whomever, I want to be in place so I can help walk them through that journey, and to let them know that while it is a journey and it seems to be insurmountable, you can get through it unscathed. And as your book says, you can get through it unbroken. So when you think about the book Unbroken, Doc, who would be that person that you would say, yeah, these are the people that I'm targeting to read Unbroken?
One thing I do within my church, I actually lead women's small groups within my church. So I did take that in mind completely, because I know that it can truly help women. It can help men too. And I'm not going to just put it out there and just target women with it, but it can help all of us. But I've gone through, I recently done a podcast, and we basically talked about my sexual abuse in life. I've been sexually abused. I'm that kid I talk about in my book about being a ward of the court. I used to tell my kids, I said, baby, I'm you. When you look in the mirror, you see me and I see you, because we saw each other. But I was a ward of the court. I saw a lot growing up from the biological parents. And I discuss those things in a book. I don't go too far in detail, because everybody can't handle your whole truth sometimes.
Right. That's right.
And you have to protect that. But that's another group that it will target, are those of us who were raised by our grandparents, those of us who saw our grandparents and they inspired us. Sometimes it'll inspire those people who people thought lived behind the white picket fence, because my safe house wasn't always a safe house. My mother, who raised me, was wonderful. She got married when I was my maternal grandmother, she was married when I was about 6 or 7 years old. And we went through a lot. And this is the first time I've said a lot of stuff out loud about that house that I was raised in. And my father that raised me was really big in the church. A lot of us, there are a group of PKs out there, or, just a generation of children. You know how the old Baptist church used to be. We lived a certain life. We had to wear our crown straight all the time, even when it was crooked. But a lot went on in my home. Anyone that's battling marriage issues, maybe they'll rethink the divorce. Because sometimes we don't check ourselves. I have to accept my fault and the things I brought to the relationship, the junk I brought to the relationship, as well as my husband have to address that as well. But we went through a full divorce, an unnecessary divorce. And sometimes we have to be obedient to God when he's talking to us, but we have our own mind made up. Another thing I would say, even through a lot of the trials and things that I've gone through, when I talk about the forgiveness piece, I had to learn to forgive. I had to forgive some, and I had to forgive me, and I had to forgive some for me. People don't realize we have to forgive for us, for our wholeness, for our closer relationship with God. My relationship with God had grown. As I stated when you and I spoke earlier, it took 4 years to write this, but I had to go through that unforgiveness part of life. I had to deal with that head on. I took a course at Church Freedom, a small group Freedom, 3 times before I figured it out. Yeah. And I always wondered when we were in there, we talked about surrender. One thing about people who've been abused or gone through different things in life, we don't trust too well. Yeah. And you don't realize, you think you got a relationship with God, but you don't realize that I truly don't trust him completely like I should. And so, just in going through that process, I learned and felt what surrender was. Can I describe what surrender feel like? I can't, but I can tell you it's such the load so light, and it's a great feeling to know I can lay it at his feet and not look back and second guess whether he's going to handle it or not. And so that's what surrender is to me. It's a unique feeling for everybody. And so I just think that that book could actually help people grow their relationship with Christ as well. And even through those trials they had gone through in life, they'll actually see, you know what? They're going to see that little light beaming. I'm working on a children's series as well, VEE, and God's Light, showing that God's light was always there. Even when I didn't know he was present, he was there sticking around the entire time. So I'm working on that little series, and people don't realize that, but he's been there the entire time. Sometimes he allow us to go through some things, and but sometimes it's to bless somebody else. But I think the audience is pretty widespread. It's a broad audience.
Yeah, it is. When you think about Unbroken, we've all been through something that should have broke us. We've
Yes.
all been through something that did break us, but we were able to, even though all the 10 zillion pieces that we were shattered in, God saw fit to bring all those pieces back
Man.
together, and we look like we're whole. We don't look like what we've been through. And so that's almost like a cliche statement that people say, I don't look like what I've been through. And half of those folks ain't been through nothing. But
Absolutely.
when you've been through something, I've been through a lot in my life. But I had someone tell me one time, they said, Clarissa, everybody wasn't born with a silver spoon in their mouth like you. And I'm going,
Come on.
I just almost laughed in her face. I'm like, girl, you don't know anything about me. You don't know what I've been through growing up. You have no idea my journey. I've just been blessed and graced by God to be in this posturing. I've been through something the last 10 years, 5 years, 2 years, but God has been so gracious enough to be able to bring me through. And I know why, so I can go back and help somebody else. We all were put on this earth for somebody else.
Absolutely.
Nobody was put here just to be. We all were here to help someone, lead someone, guide someone, pray for someone, lay hands on someone, feed someone, take some, to do something for another person. And so, and even though you want to cave in and quit, I'm telling you, to be able to get through last year, my main thing was, God, I got to get through this so I can help somebody else. I think understanding what is your why in everything that you do is critically important. Why do you do what you do? When you understand why you do what you do, your stick and stay is better. If you don't know why you do what you do, you quit easily. It's so quick for you to say, oh, well, things are getting tough. I'm going to give up. I don't want to do this anymore. Or I'm going to go another direction, and then you just throw in the towel so easily because there's some type of opposition, or you're uncomfortable, or there's a slight challenge, or things appear to be insurmountable, or the game appears to be over. But it's not. It's all about perspective, and it's all about being able to push through to your breakthrough. And so, and that's what I say, I can't wait to get your book, Unbroken, because I truly and desperately want to read your book. And you had mentioned something about, not being able to tell all the dirty secrets, and I'm using that term loosely, but you can't tell it all. And so I remember asking my mom, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, I said, Mom, I said, I think I need to tell my story. And I said, I want to tell it. I said, but I want to be able to get your blessings to do so. It's not anything that would incriminate anybody or anything like that, but I do still have a story, and I wanted to get their blessings to do that. She said, oh, absolutely. I said, well, okay, I appreciate that. I never get to tell it while she was here. But now, knowing that I had her approval and her blessings prior to her death or her passing, it gives me very good hope and able to tell that story, because maybe, just maybe, like a Dr. Victoria, that I can put my story in a book and be able to help somebody along the way. Now, in the times that you've been through things, Doc, did you ever think like you're the only one that's ever been through something like that? Did you ever have those moments?
Yes, I did. I did. I had them often because you feel like you're alone, especially when you're a child. I was one of those. I was a kid that sat in the back of the classroom, shut down. You know, you have kids that go in one direction or the other, and I was that quiet kid that kept to myself. And I told someone before I was a crybaby in the family. I cried a lot. So I expressed myself like that, and I was a loner. And I have been suicidal. Especially I confronted my sexual abuse at the age of 33, and it hit the fan. It hit the fan because I tell people, you know, like pilots, we have compartments in our brain.
Right.
And that's one of those compartments, those things, those hurtful things that deeply hurt, we tend to put in that compartment and push to the back. And once it come forward, it's not going to just come forward, the walls go fall off. But it was a really tough time that I'd gone through, and I'm not ashamed to share that at all. But I found when I was on the administrative side in education, because I served high school students, when I became more transparent with my testimony, I was more helpful to them. So, you know, I used to tell the kids, now, this is what I do for me in my house. I praise the Lord. And this is what I've gone through and how I've gone through. And, you know, one of the things, you know, it really touched me, and I'll never forget, and you'll probably hear me say this a lot, when one of my students, when I talked to her about my sexual abuse, and she said, me too, and she leaned in and started crying. That was the reason why. And that's the one thing I hope that we can do with this book, is just start having some conversations about those hidden things, because sometimes people aren't going to sit and they're not going to say things about anything. It's going to be that trigger that make them come off, and everybody's going to wonder what's wrong with them, but something triggered something from the past or something they go through. Now, just because I say that I'm broken, I'm able to write a book and put it on pages and stuff like that, my life, your life is not perfect today.
That's right.
But we know how to get through it, and we know where to leave it, at the throne.
Right.
And we know how to pray about it, you know. So and I don't want people thinking, oh, their life is perfect. Because I tell my kids all the time, no, let the DR fool you. Don't let it fool you. You know, because my biological parents are both strung out. You know, they were on drugs and alcohol. And I'm, you know, adopted and raised by my maternal grandparents. But, you know, everybody's deceased except for my biological mother, and she's still on drugs. You know, and I attempted to have that relationship, but when that lifestyle is chosen over family, you have to keep moving on, especially when you have a child. I have a son I have to raise. And there are certain things you want your child to be around. But it doesn't mean life is perfect, you know, but we got to know where to turn and what to do. And I just think that this book would be such a helpful tool just in helping people build a better relationship, a closer relationship with God. You know, it says a lot. It says a lot about that, but I just hope that I can help people through the pages of it.
Absolutely. You know, I would love for you to share a little bit more about, you said you confronted your abuser in your 30s.
I confronted the abuse. It came to a head. I had to forgive for me. That wasn't a road I wanted to go back to. And I talk about a male and a female person who did some abuse towards me in my life. I did not name any names. I never directly confronted the person because I don't need to confront them. And the reason why I say that is because I've dealt with it. And, you know, I tell people therapy is a beautiful thing, but make sure you got a spiritual therapist depending on what your foundation is. Right. Yes. And you know, so I didn't directly confront my abuse. I confronted the abuse because I had never fixed my mouth to talk about it. I'd never in all those years said anything. And it just came full forward, you know, and they know who they are. They know absolutely who they are.
How were you able, because at what age did you confront the abuse?
At 33, in my 30s.
What was it that happened in your life that said, okay, today is the day I'm going to confront it?
It was a trigger. It was something that triggered something. It actually happened on my job. That was the funny part, the strange thing and the embarrassing thing too at the same time. It was something someone said, just simply something someone said. And I think I had already been dealing with some stuff, dreams and different things of that
Mhm.
sort. Um, you know, my husband and I were going through a few things, you know, so it was a culmination of things that kind of caused it to come forward. And I even tell people now with this situation, with this whole Epstein case, and I'm going to talk about it because it's a trigger for all of us who've been abused to
Mm.
sit there and watch these young ladies speak out and say what was done to them and the world silence themselves or stand behind the predator, or to see the predator on a regular day. Because one thing that happens with abuse, and in Southern families, I found that we move around the abuser. Because I discuss my mom that raised me reaction and my dad that raised me reaction in the book when I confronted the abuse.
Mhm.
Southern families tend to sit real quiet because they don't want to hurt feelings,
Right.
or they want to keep the family together, or keep secrets. But we have a whole nation right now moving quietly around evidence of young ladies being abused when they were children, and nobody's doing nothing. The
Mm.
world's silent. No one cares. And I just think that even though I thank God, I pray for strength every day. I will tell you that, because when you really think about everything that's going on with that situation, and to watch them tear up, to even give details of the experience, it brings back flashbacks for some people. And you have to ask God to wrap his hands around your mind so you won't go backwards. But
Mhm.
I just hope that we as a nation, we as even a Southern region and Southern families do better, because we have kept a lot of secrets. I will say that because I'm from the South, I can say that.
Mhm.
But we tend to tiptoe around the truth. And we make these kids still be, or adults at a certain point, still be around those abusers and act as if nothing has happened.
Mhm.
And those are people that family members love. So we need to do better.
Absolutely. And I want to talk to someone who may be watching this live tonight, or you may watch it later on in the weeks to come. I want to encourage you, have the strength enough to, and I like the way you differentiated the two, Doc, on that you confronted the abuse. You felt no need to confront the abuser. And so, in that case, that depends on the person. You may feel like you need to confront the actual abuser themselves. But if you're sitting in a space and you're just really allowing that just to be a weight on you, maybe it's time for you to address that. Maybe it's time for you to confront it. Those of us who live in a kingdom lifestyle, we know that we can run to a strong tower, and we know that that strong tower is a place of safety. And so some people who may not live in that Christian lifestyle, we admonish you to accept Jesus Christ as your personal savior. That's the only way you can walk this thing out victoriously. But even in addition to that, sometimes you're going to need counseling. And Doc mentioned to that earlier. Counseling is a wonderful thing. Somebody can help. You need that third person to kind of give you different perspective. But at any rate, Doc and I were talking off air about living life intentionally. And so I want to encourage you, intentionally decide to face it, and to do it with help and assistance, and with the guidance and the support of the Holy Spirit. This is, I think, is an intentional live that we're doing today, because so many people, Doc, are anxious. So many people have, I think somebody said it's scary on this part. It's too scary to say proud of you. I think somebody said they're proud of you. Yeah, Tab. But it's one of those things that I really believe we have to get to a space that we have to release what weighs us. And something that you said that is so hard for so many people, Doc, is forgiveness. Forgiveness. If you think about, if you're harboring unforgiveness and you're praying every day, your prayers will not be answered because you're harboring unforgiveness. The Bible says it. And so we have to get in a space to where we have to forgive. And I remember one of the most profound things, Doc, that I heard said, and it wasn't from a preacher. It wasn't from a pastor. It was from Oprah Winfrey. and she talked about forgiveness. And she said that we have to be quick to forgive. And forgiveness is not giving the person who did something to you a pass. It's not. What it's saying is that you acknowledge, which is what you talked about earlier about the assault itself. You're acknowledging the fact that the offense took place. You're acknowledging that it took place, and you forgive the person that did it. Not that you're actually releasing them from what they did per se, but you are owning up to the fact that it happened. Because sometimes we're in this space of, oh my God, I can't believe this happened to me. Why did this happen? I wish it was done different. I wish it had never happened. Well, it happened. There's nothing you can do about the past. The past has already been written. It has. And so sometimes we're stuck in that, I wish it hadn't happened. I wish we can go back and change time. Well, you can't do any of those things. Face that, understand that it happened, face it, accept it, and then forgive the person and move on. And Oprah Winfrey said that. And then my spiritual father, Pastor Michael Moore, Sr., he had mentioned that forgiveness is not a process, it's a choice. So either you're going to forgive or you're not. Make the choice. Now, once you have made that choice, then you have to continue to speak that over your life every time you see the person. And eventually you won't feel hot from your toenails all the way up to your scalp, when you see them come in, or feel some kind of way when you see them. After a while, you'll see them as just like an ant on the ground. I mean, you don't even know they're there. But in order to get to that point, you still have to make that choice. And so I would just like to hear what you have to say about, let me see. Okay, Jan said, is it Jan or Jane? Jan?
Janice.
Janice. Jan. Jan said counseling. I want to address some of these things here. She said counseling did not help her. And so in counseling may not for certain people. Counseling helped me through the grieving process. And so it really depends on the person. You do need to have someone that can help you. You want to speak to that, Doc?
Yes, I'll add something to it, because I did counseling years ago. Yes, but I did. You have to continue it. I had a therapy session this morning. I told my therapist about my podcast last week, but it's a lot. It's like eating food, getting your nutrients in, taking your vitamins. Sometimes you have to stick with it a little while longer and make it part of your lifestyle. It has to be every day. It's the same way you get up in the morning and pray and have those conversations with Christ. You got to get up, when you get that relationship, that spiritual relationship, exactly where you need it to be. And we always can be better. But
Right.
when you know without a doubt, he's going to give me peace over my mind, you have to speak life over yourself. And that's one thing that I had to learn to do, was to just start speaking over myself. I love the song, Speak Over Yourself.
Yes.
Because that has really helped me. And when I talk about, I see Miss Butler put in there, she talked about how forgiveness is for you. It is. It's for your healing. It's not for them. And you don't have to be around those people. I choose not to be around those people now.
Right.
Children, and sometimes people have to see them every day after the fact.
Yeah.
Even if they go through the forgiveness piece. But it's you have to speak forgiveness over yourself to clear your mind, to make sure you're open to receive all the blessings you have, because we can't receive all the blessings in the kingdom unless we get our mind right and we understand, so that's a true fact, that it's for you. It's for your healing. I did have one young lady years ago. She had done something in my life. She was actually the trigger of it, and I'm gonna be honest with you. On my job, we were at a funeral. One of our coworkers passed away. I walked past her and I walked back and I turned her to the side and I said, I forgive you. Now I did confront that because there were a number of things. I wasn't the only little target in the school. I was just a little young teacher trying to, be great. I think we all wanted to be great back then in education. I'm sure that's the same thing today. But I passed by her. I literally walked past her and I turned around and came back and I told her I forgive her and gave her a hug. And we as Black women have to be intentional about those relationships. And I think that we shouldn't cause hostility, and that go back to a different situation too. But
Right.
we have to be forgiving of one another and be intentional in those relationships as
Mhm.
well. But
Mhm.
that was a situation. Now I did face that part head on.
Yeah, and sometimes you do, and it goes against reasonable principle on how you feel,
Hmm.
because you walk past, your first instinct was to walk right by her and not say anything,
Hmm.
but it was the courage of your conviction
Hmm.
that caused you to turn around. It's almost like that Damascus
Hmm.
experience when the horse was startled and it turned back
Uh-huh.
around. It's almost
Yes.
like you had that Damascus experience to say, you know what, now's the day, now is the time. And so
Yeah.
when you do that, you don't think about what the other person, the response. When
Hmm.
it hits you like that, you're not thinking, well, what if they're going to think, and talk yourself out of it. Right
Hmm.
then, you knew the Holy Spirit said, look, Doc, you need to turn around, ask forgiveness, and deal with this right now.
Hmm. And we can
Deal
only
with it.
grow and be better if we be obedient. When God tell us to
Yes,
move, we don't need to say, what you
yes.
say, Lord? Why?
Is that you?
People, we always, did I hear that was the devil talking to me? That wasn't,
Right.
we every excuse on who talking to us when he said, child, get over here and do this. And you need to move and do it. And once I start moving and put some fire up under my feet and start doing what he wanted me to do, things start getting a little bit better every day. It just
Mhm.
pieces start falling in order.
Yeah, it does. Obedience is better than sacrifice. And you just sometimes it just does not feel good. You
Mhm.
have experiences where somebody says something to you and you got a real good comeback. I mean, one that you're gonna tear them out the frame. And you rehearse it in your mind, oh, I'm gonna tell them this, I'm gonna get them. And then the Holy Spirit said, nope, zip it. You will not share
Mhm.
that. You will
Yep.
not share it. And a lot of times when we share it, it's because we feel like it's gonna make us feel good when we do. But
When we really,
sometimes we're so better off than the person that did it to us. And
mhm.
we're trying to seek revenge, but we're no better than they are. And we're going to feel
Absolutely.
worse by trying to get them back, because then we're going to have this conviction on us and we're like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that.
Mhm.
Look how it made them feel. Because a lot of times when people do ugly things to us or they assault us in some type of way, they could never handle it if it was handed back to them. They could
Absolutely.
never handle it. And
Mhm.
so, and that's another thing about the word intentional. We have to be intentional to halt,
Absolutely.
be intentional about seeking revenge
Mhm.
against the person that has done something to you, because it's not going to end well when you're trying to seek revenge, even though that's your reflex. When somebody
Mhm.
hits you, you're going to be ready to post up. I
Uh-huh.
know I am. You hit me, I'm ready. I'm
Yes.
already, I'm already on you. And
Uh-huh.
so it's just the first thing you think about. But we really have to be intentional. Mel
Mhm.
Robbins, who is an amazing motivational speaker, I love her. She's
Mhm.
real, she's
Mhm.
raw, she's in there. And so one of the things she said was, you want to be able to give yourself about a 10-second window when offense happens, when something comes at you, or when somebody offends you or says something ugly. You want to give yourself 10 seconds. You need to
Mhm.
count backwards or forwards, but count 10
Mhm.
seconds. And in that 10 seconds, you want to assess what happened, what took place, who said this, why they said this. Look at the whole situation before you decide to make some form of response. And so at
Absolutely.
that time, yeah, because you're holding on to control over it. If you react to an offense, they have control, because now
Mhm.
you're a puppet. They say this and you do this. They move this, you move that. But if you give yourself time to get control of the situation, and you pump your brakes and don't respond or don't react right then you control it.
Yes. And I think
Because
you need to think
yes,
about the consequence of your choice too. That's something I
exactly,
do. If I go in this direction, how's it going to turn? I'm a long-term thinker. So I want to see the
absolutely.
other side of the choices I make. So that's something to really think about too, is what's the consequence of those choices I make?
Right. And the older we get, Doc, the more costly the consequences are of our
Absolutely.
choice. And I
Hmm.
tell my kids that, I said, now you make little decisions now, because mom and daddy here, we can kind of cover it or help you or get you out, whatever. But the
Hmm.
older you get, there's nothing we as parents can do other than pray for you.
Absolutely.
Because it's more costly at this point, and it involves more people the older you get. If you're married, if you have children, you have whatever, it involves the whole family.
Mhm.
And so it's very costly. Let's see what Katrina said. Katrina says, amen. Forgive quickly. Absolutely. Shayna says, ooh, hard to get better without getting bitter. Jesus the Christ is the example and the only way through. You are exactly right, Shayna, because, and I say these things because it's easier said than done. But in the times that I have been so terribly offended or hurt in some type of way, I quickly say, you know what? I forgive them.
Mhm.
I forgive
Absolutely.
them. And you know what? Sometimes that's a faith choice.
Hmm. It is.
Well,
And when you
there
get to
we
that point,
show
you can't
it.
you
Right?
can't hold on to it. It's only going to hurt you even more.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
release it. You
It
have to
is.
release it, and it feels so good. I'm gonna tell you that.
Yes, it does, because you
Feels so
can
good.
walk in the room and not have that. You know how you get that feeling when somebody's done something to you, be like, or it just messes up your moment or messes up the environment. And so when you do that, it can really help. Now, when you're quick to forgive, does that mean the hurt it goes immediately? No.
You don't have to forget. No. Mm-mm.
No, I mean, that hurt is a process, but you
Mm-hmm.
can't confuse the forgiveness with the hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Forgive quickly. And I think that's what Katrina
Absolutely.
says, forgive quickly. But the hurt is going to be a process. It's going to take a minute for you to get over the hurt,
Mm-hmm.
but still you have to forgive. Those are two separate things. So, and
Yeah.
forgiveness is that saying you're going to put a band on it real quick and it's going to heal. No, anytime
Mm-hmm.
you hurt yourself, you cut yourself on the hand, it starts to heal. The process starts immediately. Your body is created to heal itself. But there's still a process. It's going to be sore to the touch. You got to make sure you put ointment on it and Neosporin and all of these
Mm-hmm.
things. And then in time, it will heal. Right. But you got to take proper
Absolutely.
care of it. So
Mm-hmm.
what's proper care when it comes to forgiving? Proper care is making sure that you pray for that person, even when you
Absolutely.
don't want to. Proper care is speak well of them, even when you don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
Proper care is when you think of them and you get hot, give them to God when you don't want to. Doc, what are some of your proper cares that you've done for your emotional wounds to help heal?
One thing I do, and I'm going to tap on that forgiveness piece too before I move on. It teaches me also how to handle people or situations in the future. You know, I'm going to forgive you. I'm gonna move on. But when you show me who you are, Maya Angelou told us, when somebody show you who they are, you will need to
Yeah,
believe them.
that's
And
right.
sometimes some situations aren't healthy, and sometimes when you ask God, God, let me see what I need to see,
Mm,
or open my eyes, allow me to say the words I need to say. He's going to show you, and we just
right.
have to be vigilant and receive those things, even though we may not like the truth. When it comes to forgiveness, we just not need to know how to handle those situations along the way. But proper care with me, it is constant prayer. I try to be in church every moment I get. I was serving
Mm,
this Saturday. Just every moment I can get in the house, I do. I serve
mm,
often. I serve on ministries on Sunday morning and so forth. Um, but it's about trying to live. Like I said, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to live the life He wants me to live. I looked
right.
around, you at mid age, I'm almost 50 years old.
Mm,
And you question, have I been doing what you wanted me to do all this time?
right.
Am I in the place you want me to be in? But you remember, he may have said a few things to you when you were a teenager too, about what some work he needed you to do. But you run. But proper care now for me is to attack those things head on and to make sure that I pour myself into his kingdom the way he needs me to be in. And I'm going to do the
Right.
work he has for me. So
Mm,
I am making sure that my mental health is in order. That's why I still have a therapist, a spiritually based therapist. Um, just saying yes, living on the other side of yes. Um, a lot of us live on the other side of no. We live the
mm-hmm.
life of no, no, I can't do this, I can't do that. You give up on yourself before you even try. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
living on the other side of yes. And just believing in myself is care for me. It makes your mind be at ease. When
Yes.
you approach a situation, all they can say is no. But I'm gonna live on the other side of yes and see where we go from there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a holistic care, your mental, your physical, but it's a lot we have to pour into ourselves, and just make sure we're doing what he needs us to do in the kingdom.
Right. I love that statement, living on the other side of yes. I
Yes, ma'am.
love that. I remember, and people who know me know that I remember growing up, I would always be in this space of what I can't do, what I can't wear, what I can't say, what I can't listen to, what I can't, is what I can't. Because I grew up as a child minister. I've always ministered or held Bible studies or something like that as a kid. And so my focus was, I got to stay away from it. I can't talk to these people. I can't hang out with these folks. It's always what I can. And so I like you. I'm in an age in my life now where, wait a minute, now I know exactly what I can't do at this point in my life. Now I want to focus on the things that I can do.
Mm-hmm.
I can do this. I can go this place. I can hang out here because there are things that you can do as being kingdom people. But I was so
Absolutely.
focused on what I can't do till I wasn't living.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't living.
Had
And
no
so,
joy.
yeah, I mean, it was like, oh my God, it's miserable. Just
Yeah.
focusing on what you can't do. No, I want to get with Velda right quick. She says, forgiveness is for you. People go
Mhm.
on with their lives and you make yourself miserable,
Yeah.
keeping holding on to that hatred.
Absolutely.
Exactly right. I mean, some folks don't even know, Doc, that they've even offended you
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times. And when they
Yeah.
do, in their minds, it wasn't an offense. That's just what they do. Get over it.
Mm-hmm.
Velda, that's a very good statement. Let's see what
Yeah.
Angel has to say. Yeah, speak peace over yourself. Absolutely. Speak the word over yourself. It's real talk. Let's see. I do that. I say, forgive them, Lord. Yep, you have to. Otherwise, you might catch a case. Let's see what else. Let's see what Velda says. She says, if it had not been for Jesus, I would not be here. Grief of the loss of my child. People took advantage of me and stole my company and left me to suffer. I went from 70K income to $100 a year. Wow. I had to focus on my faith. It was forgiveness that helped me to survive. I totally believe in counseling.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's an amazing testimony
Mm-hmm.
right there, Velda. Thank you so much for sharing because I know by what you said right there is going to help so many other people
Mm-hmm.
just to be able to forgive. You mentioned here so many losses in these couple of sentences, so many
Mm-hmm.
losses that she has just spelled out here that she's experienced. But I hear, but God
Mm-hmm.
you know, but God. So many things you can hold resentment for, but God. And so I
Amen.
just want to thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you guys so much for popping in with these words and just being vulnerable. I think with us being vulnerable, telling our stories, Velda, you telling your story, hopefully God will lay it in your heart to write a book so that you too can get your word out there like what Doc has done with Unbroken. This is just, I'm glad that we're talking about this because I believe there are a lot of people, Doc, that have been through some journeys that you've been through and still have not forgiven their assailant or their
Mm-hmm.
attacker or their abuser. They just can't find it in their heart to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
As we wrap up tonight, some of the things that I like to have my guests to do is to lead people with a form of encouraging word. So
Mm-hmm.
tonight, if you could speak to that person who've been through so much, and that people have really done things to them that they feel like they just can't bring themselves to. Can you share just briefly some encouraging words to that people to encourage them that forgiveness is the only way?
Yeah, I'll be happy to. One thing I do want to say to those who are watching now live, to those who may watch this later, I want you to just get down on your knees and pray to God. And it just took down, just have a conversation. If you don't know what to say to Him, ask Him to heal your heart, ask Him to give you peace, ask Him to give you joy. Because we have to choose joy every day of our life. And we can't let an unhappy person or a hurt person who tend to hurt other people hurt you and your life and what He has destined for you in life. I encourage you to reach out to someone you close to, have that conversation with them. Even if you know someone who has gone through abuse, who has gone through different challenges in life. My story is more than just a story about abuse. It's about a kid who was, as I stated earlier, a ward of the court, who ended up being adopted. by my maternal grandparents. Initially, my maternal grandmother did not want to raise another child that belonged to one of her kids. So those people who are dealing with rejection, I really think that this book would really help you have those conversations with people. And even if you see those characteristics in someone who look like they're living with rejection, because sometimes we feel like it's haunting us. Because I will tell you, I feel like rejection haunted me all my life. I felt like from the day I was 7 months when my biological mother left me alone at my maternal grandmother's house, when she came home from work, she found me, up until even in some times in my career where I was looked over, I was still being hunted by the same rejection. If you see any traits or anything like that in someone you may know, someone you may love, or even, signs of depression, I tell people, I still live with depression. But you know what? God keep me with a sound mind, and we got to have conversations, y'all. Start having those conversations about those things you're dealing with. And I think that's the best way of healing is talking about them, writing about them. Miss Butler, you need to write about your story because there's somebody else out there going through exactly what you went through. Especially when you look at the grief of losing your child. That's an area that needs to be tapped on. And I know the grief of losing your parents, the ones that, my maternal grandmother who raised me, you feel like you're in this world alone. Make sure people know that you love them and you care. It's not about the day that someone passed in their life. It's about the days after when the phone's not ringing. And that has a lot to do with the broken pieces that we talk about, because God will remake you. He will renew you and make you even better than what you were before. But I hope that my book touched you. I hope that the words that I'm sharing in this story tonight, I just hope that everything reached someone. And even if it reaches one person, as Martin Luther King said, that my living hadn't been in vain, my writing hadn't been in vain. So just take care of yourselves mentally and spiritually and keep God as your foundation.
Absolutely, man. I love it. That was such an encouraging word. Doc, how can people find your book?
Okay. One way they can find it, I am out on it. The full title of the book, and I hold up the book to it's Unbroken: How God Turned My Pain into Purpose. And you have to choose to want to live purposeful. I will say that it is on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. I also have a website set up, www.empowergrowth.llc, www.empowergrowth.llc. That's my personal LLC. And there's some other resources and things you'll find out there. For you as well, but you can purchase a book through the site, and I will personally send a book to you that's autographed if you order through the website. But I just want to thank you all, and again, as you stated earlier, the launch is August 8th, and I hope that you all can come out and fellowship with us.
Yes, and guys, go out there and send Doc a friend request so that you can get on to her page. That way you can follow, because she's going to announce where the book launch is going to be, give you a little bit more logistics about getting it so you can go in, because I plan to, hopefully, I got something else going on the 8th, but I hope that I can get to that so I want mine autographed. Yes, so I want to get there early so I can get my book autographed. But, I'm also looking to, Doc, for you to definitely do some curriculum training around this. I can see this book being introduced to organizations and small groups for people who are dealing with loss or disappointment or those types of things. I can see this book being a curriculum that's being taught.
That's funny you mentioned that. I was thinking earlier today before while I was working on something else to go ahead and create a curriculum for 8 to 12 week curriculum for a small group. But my children's series, it does target areas where I was broken as a child. The last page of each of the 12 books that I'm creating, they will have a guide for parents, for therapists, for church leaders. And any of those involved with those kids, and using that text in order of supporting that child, give them some pointers and some things that would guide them through addressing those concerns with those kids. So there will be a page curriculum in that book.
Right. I think someone is asking to repeat the website. Is it www.empowergrowth.llc?
Yes, growth with TH.
Growth. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
So in www.empowergrowth.llc.
Yes.
Empowergrowth.llc. Katrina Harris says, if you are facing forgiving someone, please remember that the same grace that was sufficient enough for you is the same grace extended to all others. You don't have to hang out with those people who hurt you, because everybody who came with you can't go with you. Love unconditional and be intentional with letting things go that God has kept you through.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That was beautifully
It
said,
was.
Katrina.
It was.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. We want to have that same grace, because when we mess up and when we misstep, we quick, Lord, please forgive me, Lord. Forgive me, Lord. And we expect him
And
to do it. And he
we
does.
have to forgive ourselves
He's
too.
going
We are not perfect. We are
Mm-mm.
not perfect.
His grace is sufficient, and we ask for forgiveness. He forgives
Mhm.
us just like that. It's not a process for him; it's a
Mhm.
decision, and he does it. And so, yes, we want to make sure
Yeah.
that we're doing the same thing. So, guys, listen, go out there. Allison Sanders has put the website here: www. I think it's all lowercase empowergrowth.llc. Is that
And
all
it
lowercase?
doesn't matter. They type it
Okay.
in. Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah, I think she retyped it there. There you go. Yeah, www.empowergrowth.llc. Go out there and learn more about the launch. Also, she said if you can't come to the launch, go out there, order your book on her website, and you can get it autographed. See, I like mine autographed. I like mine to say something like, "Hey, to my best friend, Clarissa
Okay.
King." Yeah, I like that type of stuff going on.
All right. All right. Get ready.
That's right. That's what I like. So, guys, so to get your autograph book, go to our website. But, if that's not a big deal, if you want to buy it and then bring it to the launch, you can go to Amazon. Her book is on Amazon.
Mhm.
So, Doc, thank you so much for coming
Well,
to
thank
the
you.
Ladies Room Talk Show. I believe that you've helped so many people here tonight, just talking about unforgiveness, talking about being intentional, just talking about living your life with purpose and making sure
Mhm.
you're going without the weight because it's unnecessary. So, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for hanging out. Let's see here. Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
enjoyed you, girl. You thanks for sharing as well and coming out and hanging out with us. I enjoyed that. And I think you had another relative
Uh,
pop on.
Sylvia. I think Sylvia.
Sylvia. Yes. Hello,
Mhm.
Miss Sylvia. Thanks for hanging out with us today. I was trying
Couple of
to
classmates.
for your classmate. Let's see.
I have a couple
There
of
you
classmates.
go. Uh-huh.
That's my
Well, thanks,
cousin. Yes,
Sylvia.
ma'am.
Yeah, so guys, those of you who are popping on just now, be sure to go ahead and share this to your network of friends. Listen, we're talking about unforgiveness, forgiving quickly, living life intentionally, facing your demons, things that have held you back in the past, and getting her book Unbroken. Go to empowergrowth.llc. That's empowergrowth.llc. Or that book,
Mhm.
get it autographed. That's what you want. Get it
Mhm.
autographed. But
Mhm.
if not, you can also go out to Amazon and grab that on Amazon as well. And listen, go ahead and mark your calendar. Save the date, August 8th. She's going to be doing her book launch. You want to learn more about that? She's going to get more details later on. Go to her website and get more information on that. Or go and send a friend request. Get connected with her because she has so many wonderful words that she can help you. Because if she can get through it, you can get through it too. So again,
Amen.
Doc, thank you so much for hanging out with us
Thank
tonight.
you.
And guys, thank you for hanging out with us tonight because we got so much to focus on in our lives. And we got a lot of
Amen.
living to do. And we don't want to do it with weights that are unnecessary. Forgive, let it go, and let God reign supreme. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us inside the Ladies Room Talk Show. We'll see you back here next Monday night, 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Love you. Stay the course. See you next time. Good night.
Step into the ladies' room with Clarissa.